Yo, yo, it's KhunShawn. It's one of those days, one of those nights where you reminisce. Another transparent video because I personally don't have any issues with being vulnerable on camera, and I figure it'll help other people out that go through this or will go through this. It's legitimately just part of life, man. So I just sat like the last, I guess, 20 minutes crying in a good way and like re-listening to old music I used to listen to when like going through breakup. This video is about my ex-wife. She passed away. She passed away 5 years ago. After we had already separated. And I think it's important that we give ourselves grace and we forgive ourselves for past mistakes that we have made in our relationships. Because we are our own worst critics as human beings. Nobody criticizes you more than you criticize yourself, which is why you must give yourself the ability to heal and forgive yourself for your mistakes. So I'll share with you guys like a couple stories. Me and my ex-wife, I'll keep her name private, of course. When we started dating, it was back when I was still in the military. And she was my light because I went through a lot of dark stuff in service. I've talked about it before. It's just part of my history. It's just part of my life. And I honestly was on the brink of ending my own life several times in service. And when I met her, she legitimately was the only thing keeping me going. And at that point in time, I was taking medication for my mental health. I was taking Prozac. And the way Prozac works, like I hated my life so much and I wanted to end it so badly, but I went to behavioral health and they prescribed me this medication. And this medication didn't make me feel better, but it made me feel nothing. And at that point in time in my life, I figured it's better to feel nothing than feel like shit. So I'll give a little backstory. So like during PT formation, it's normal. We just like do the exercises and be quiet, supposedly. But other people were talking. And this is like maybe a group of like 15, 20 people. And, a couple of people are talking, chit-chatting while stretching out, whatever. I decided to say a couple of things to, my section, because it's like we're all in a group. Our sections are together. And then the sergeant at that time, he singled me out. He's like, shut the fuck up. And then, of course, the other Joes jump in. Hey, shut the fuck up. And it's like, you can say it's whatever, but at that point in time, I was already in a bad space. I had already tried to kill myself. So to have this beration on top of me already feeling like shit and taking medicine, it didn't help, right? So like immediately, like I tried to, I could feel the medicine working on my mental. It was like trying to keep me from really caring about what happened, but my emotions, right? Because we have emotion, and this, my history is what led me on the spiritual journey to travel around the world and practice these different religions and understand myself, do meditation, do psychology, becoming a life coach. All that is because of my history. And I could feel the emotions, from another perspective, me knowing all this knowledge that I know now that I didn't have 5 years ago. I could feel my emotions was saying, hey, no, this isn't right. This isn't good for you. This ain't good for your soul. It doesn't matter, the medicine. The medicine that messes with your brain, sure, it messes with the neurons. It messes with your thinking patterns. But you still have something inside you that says, no, this ain't right. and I wanted to defend myself and speak up for myself, but I could feel the medicine was like trying to pull me back. I could literally feel, like, imagine something is like trying to come out of your body, and like something else, like say chains, are coming out to like grab you and force you back into your body. That's how I felt in my brain. I felt like I was stuck and I couldn't escape, and I immediately got up, bro. I got up and I was like trying to tell my chief, I'm like, Chief, I need you. Like, I gotta go. And like my chief's like, yo, like he's trying to console me. Of course, like we're walking away and I'm like starting to break down, bro. Like, and I start like yelling, like other people, because it's not just my section. Like, this is a whole PT is for everybody. So like I just started yelling. I was like, I can't take this shit. I can't take this, chief. And I was like, I can't do this. I remember, bro, I was starting to break down, bro. I was starting to break down in front of everybody, bro. And my chief's trying to, keep me calm. Like, relax, and, come with me. And like, we're walking out to the side. And then coming down the way was actually the post commander. So like the guy in charge of the entire military base. Like, he saw me. And, I didn't know who he was at the time. He's like a super high ass rank. I'm still I think I was a specialist or a private first class at the time. And, he's, my chief is like, oh, that's post commander. That's the sergeant major. And like, immediately I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I told my chief, I'm sorry, chief, bro, I'm getting you in trouble. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm breaking down. But like, props to the post commander. He was telling me, hey, it's not, you're fine. You're not the first soldier to break down. And like, he was being real with me. He's like, you're not the first one to go through this. You'll be okay. And if you don't want me to, look at it, you don't want me to go inspect, you don't want me to put myself in there, I will do that for you. So he was basically saying, if you feel like it's better to just suffer in silence versus me come down from, what I'm doing, because, if that happened, that's like kicking the hornet's nest. Like, immediately a whole bunch of shit's going down, right? The sergeant major and the post commander told my chief, and they said, take him to behavioral health, make sure he's good. PT's done for him, just like take him back to his room and make sure he, goes to behavioral health. Chief says, Roger, I'm crying, bro. Like, I am crying, bro. At this point, like, I am crying in public. And, like, my chief takes me to my room, change, shower, and, we're going to go to behavioral health after first formation. And, Roger, close the door. And I immediately call her. She answers the phone, and she's like, what's wrong? Why are you upset? And I'm like breaking down. I'm like, I can't take this shit. I want to kill myself. You're the only reason why I live. If it wasn't for you, bro, I'd be dead already. Beating myself up. Like, I was, bro. At that point in time in my life, bro, I was at the rock bottom, bro. Like, I tell everybody, like, my worst year being alive, bro, was 2019. 2019 was my worst year just being alive on this earth. I was so, like, my life was miserable back then. And, she's like, no, you'll be okay. After work, you can see me, blase, blase. And, like, of course, she's making me feel better. She, at that point in time, she was everything that kept me alive, to be honest. My roommate, he was actually in his room. So those who don't know, like, you share a common area, but you have your own room and you have a roommate. I thought my roommate was at PT, but he heard everything on my phone. On the phone, because at that point, like, I was breaking down, like, but I'm breaking down. Anybody could hear me if they put their ear to the door or whatever. And he opened the door, and I'm like, oh shit, like, I didn't know he was there. So like, I felt like, damn, now he know, like, I want to die, like. And he, and shout out to my roommate, man. Shout out to Wagner. I appreciate you, brother. He was telling me, no, man, like, you're good. If you want to talk, I'm here. Like, I'm telling, like, at this point in time, I'm thinking nobody has my back. I'm thinking nobody's around. I'm thinking nobody gives. I'm thinking I'm useless. And like, there were people that were around that actually cared. So I will always say, thank you to them. And, I got a knock on the door, and it was like a new private. I'd never seen this guy before in my life. And he heard me, and he was like, hey man, I heard you, are you good? If you're not good, he gave me a hug. Like, he legitimately gave me a hug, and he was like, "Don't worry about it. You know, it'll get better." Even though he don't know my situation, I ain't never met this man before in my life, and I haven't seen him since. You know, that one person, bro. At this point, you know, I'm at my lowest, and like, he showed up in my life as well. Gave me a hug. He was like, "Man, don't worry about it. You know, whatever you're going through, man, it'll get better. It always does." And you know, like, that's the, you know, of course, in the moment, you just like, you like, whatever. But like, that's the stuff I honestly needed to hear. I needed to hear that. And of course, I go to behavioral health, and then after that, you know, I go see my girlfriend at the time, and then, you know, eventually we got married. I had, of course, I cared about this woman a lot. But you know, after getting married, you know, I'm thinking, oh, you know, life's gonna be easier. You know, we get married, we get to move off post, and things are gonna be so simple. But you know, at that point in time, I personally wouldn't even say I was a man at that time. Like, I had graduated basic training. I'm a United States Army soldier. You know, I'm thinking, you know, I'm a man. You know, at this, like, hindsight, I was not a man at that time, bro. I didn't even know how to really hold a relationship, bro, and it showed in my marriage. Bro, I barely had the ability to even say what was on my mind. And like, several women in my life, like growing up, dating or having relationships, even after I separated from my ex-wife, like, I'm telling you, after my ex-wife, I still had years of like failure in relationships. And they all told me the same: you don't know how to communicate. You don't say what's on your mind. You don't tell me your feelings. You don't tell me how you feel. And I, you know, the whole time in my head, I'm battling. In my head, I'm just like, I don't tell nobody nothing. I keep it to myself. I figure it out by myself. And bro, that's toxic, and it didn't help me. And there's so many potential relationships that could have been way more successful if I actually took that advice earlier in my life than when I did. Luckily now, you know, I've mastered so many different skills. I've understood, I've accepted. Like, I'm making videos, even just being vulnerable on camera, because it's important, bro. Like, if you're a young man watching this, you are going to go through heartbreak. If you're a young woman watching this, you're going to go through heartbreak. That is part of the human experience that we're living. We need to go through some type of heartbreak to understand more of who we are, because that's just part of it. There's been no human being, unless you're, of course, somebody that doesn't date or doesn't care to date or can't date because the dating market nowadays. But everybody normally will go through some severe breakup. And my divorce with my ex-wife was like the culmination of just so much ego on my part, not understanding myself, you know, thinking I'm the shit when I really wasn't. This is like one of the worst things I ever did to my ex-wife. And it was over something so small, and it was not that big a deal. And I've forgiven myself since, and you know, I was reflecting on it in the bed, and you know, that's why I say you gotta give yourself grace. So this one time, so I went and I drove home, and I go home, and my wife is hanging out with her friends, and there's nothing crazy about it. Like, these are her friends from high school. And like, I come home, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, you know, I've been dealing with I come home, and like, she's just sitting there, and like, they even welcome me. They're like, "Oh, welcome home." And I had my bowl. It was like an empty bowl, and I just like threw that across the room, and I threw it like towards the sink, because I was just like, why are there people in my house? Like, I want to come home, I wanted to be quiet. And it's not like they were having a party or nothing like that. They were literally just sitting in the dark, just talking. And like, I just blew up over something so freaking small. Something so freaking small. And like, that one instant, I knew at that one instant, like, that was like the start of the downfall of my marriage. And I knew it later, but like, now that I can really reflect on it, like, yeah, That's why I give myself grace. Like, I look at myself, and this is the advice I want to share. This is why I'm making this video, man, about how you can give yourself grace, is to remember these moments, but don't attack yourself. I'd like to look at it from a perspective as if the person that I am today was watching. Like, say I was invisible, and I remember going up the stairs, unlocking the door, going into the apartment, throwing the bowl, blah, blah, blah. I imagine myself just watching me go through these steps, go through this moment, this blow up where it didn't need to happen. And when I'm angry, I just envision myself manifesting in front of myself, my younger self, and just giving myself a hug and just saying, it's not that deep. It's not that bad. This moment, you don't know it at this point in time, but this moment, this led to the end of your relationship with a very wonderful woman that's no longer on this earth, that you cannot apologize to, that all the bullshit that you did do, and you can't take that shit back. You can't take none of that shit back because they're not here. And then that's when I say it's okay. Because it was a mistake. You were young, you were dumb, you didn't know. You didn't have the skills. Nobody taught you. You didn't know. You were just unconscious. You were just going through your anger for no reason. You had no ability to actually control that shit. You had no skills to teach you to just let it go. To just let it go, because it wasn't a big deal. And that's why I'm making this video specifically. That's why I'm sharing all this personal information. That's why I'm letting it all out. Because I know for a fact that there are people that don't know how to handle anything in life. So if you can learn anything from my mistakes, is to, while in the moment, realize that shit might not be the biggest deal on the planet, bro. Whatever you're going through, give yourself some time. Like, maybe in the moment, sure. Like, maybe, you might get upset, you might yell, you might swear, say, hey, yeah, I messed up at this point in time. But that's not the end. Give yourself that grace. Do the breathing techniques I just showed you, bro. Just inhale. Exhale, man. Just go through the energy. Go through the emotion. Because we're not our thoughts, we're not our emotions. We are the observer. The human experience is for us to grow and learn as spiritual beings on our journey. And you just let that go. And through this story, man, I hope I helped you. I hope you gained something from it. But to, tie the knot on the bow, that's basically all I wanted to share with you guys. But to tie the knot on the bow, when it comes to the passing and how I deal with it, it's like I like to remember all the moments I got to spend with my ex-wife, and the good, bad, ugly, because at the end of the day, bro, it's all perspective. All the shit you went through with somebody else, bro, learn from it. Learn from it, because if you don't, you will repeat the same shit in the next relationship. After we finally divorced, I was emotionally wrecked. I didn't date anybody seriously. Like, sure, I went on dates here and there. Sure, I slept around here and there. But I never could really hold a relationship. I never gave these women the opportunity to hold a relationship with me. I always kept that pain of, hey, I fucked up with my ex-wife. I don't want to deal with women right now. And I didn't realize it until later. Like, yeah, I started reflecting. I started trying to understand myself while I was unconscious. So please understand that, hey, we're going to go through some shit in this life. And sometimes the stuff that you go through, the people that you may want to apologize to later on, they might not be in this world anymore. You'll never ever get that chance to say I'm sorry. But every night that I do go through these feelings, that I do remember my ex-wife through every moment. And it's easy to have the bad ones replay, but there was some amazing times too. and you just accept all of it for what it was, just the human experience. You just accept that, hey, it happened. Look at it from another perspective of who you are now versus who you were back then. Have you made progress to become a better version, a more whole version of yourself? Because the best version and the most whole version are two different things. To become the most whole version is to accept that, yeah, you made mistakes, and to go through these painful emotions. Like, I'm crying, yeah, like I'm sad, but this ain't a boo hoo. This is like, yeah, this is real life. This is what it's like to be a human being. So when I cry, I'm not even sad when I'm crying. Like, yeah, I'm sad, but when I'm crying and I'm remembering and I'm missing, and I'm like, I had some amazing times. Yeah, yeah, blah 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 blah. At the end of the day, I'm glad I went through it. I'm glad I was able to go through it and grow and stop that pattern of reckless behavior. And now I get to share it with you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching, man. If you have any experience with, of course, passing of family members, friends, how do you grieve? How do you deal with it? How do you accept that these people are no longer on this planet with us? Share your experience down below, because there might be somebody who's going through the exact pain right now, and your advice might just help them out. So thank you guys for watching, and you guys please have a good day, have a good night, whatever it is. Y'all be safe. Peace.